I did it again. I did it again. I do this every time. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Captain Quasar, and welcome back to another unofficial H3 waiting room. We have a lot to talk about today. I want to start with Reddit because I want to keep it a little light, but then we're gonna go into the last episode of Leftovers and the conversation they had a little bit after that because I took some notes. I took some notes. I did some stuff to try and figure it out. And it kind of one thing kind of pissed me off. We'll get into everything though. So let's just get started with Reddit. I swear to God, I do that every time with the audio. It's so annoying. I should really learn how to be good. But so apparently Hassan has claimed on stream he wants to address Ethan's audience instead of Ethan during the debate because Ethan is too lost. If that's the intention, Hassan, bravely come talk to us here and make an AMA thread. I kind of don't care if he wants to make an AMA for us to dogpile on him. But I do think this is just kind of, it shows that he doesn't want to come have like a genuine conversation. He really does just want to info dump and turn it into something that it doesn't need to be. And then there was this clip, which is pretty funny, of Ferogan making fun of other people. See, I just don't... we need to stop caring so much when people are made fun of. Obviously, it shouldn't be the only criticism. If that's the only criticism you can make, then you're just looking for anything. But everybody just does it. It's the low blow. It's the easiest. It's low-hanging fruit. Saying she looks like Thomas the Tank Engine or something, that's Islamophobic. That actually is really bad. Saying she looks like Jabba the Hutt, why would I care? Why would I care that they said she looks like Jabba the Hutt? Like, I'm sorry. There's levels to this stuff, you know what I mean?
Always a hating ass bitch with ugly eyebrows and no lips coming after you. That's what you have to remember. You look at your haters, and it's an ugly ass bitch with no fucking eyebrows or no lips coming after you. And you're like, okay, like, I'm sorry you're projecting. I'm sorry you're projecting. Aww.
Like, yeah, I don't even think this is that bad. She called her ugly. The Destiny's Cummies dried up on her is a little crazy. But again, it's low-hanging fruit, so I don't necessarily... As long as you aren't being super bigoted about it, I mean, am I going to really care that much? Harley just keeps coming with the heat, too. I'm proud of our... Do I need to pull up the blackface image again? I'm not going to do it anymore. I'll stop doing it. I like Harley. It's just the most insane thing I've ever seen. So every time I see him, it's like my brain flashes back. It's like fucking it's like I'm getting like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment. But Hassanabi said, "By now everyone knows if you say anything critical about Israel, you're going to have the most mentally ill stalkers who follow you around for the rest of time, trying to get you fired from shit. When will it end? You are losing support. Wake up to the realities you are defending." Harley just said, I said something critical about Hamas, and I got the most mentally ill stalker claiming he wants to ruin my life. I think this goes both ways. Painting it as only one side having crazies doesn't help. And I think that's something that everyone has been trying to like point at and nobody's wanting to admit is that like, can we just... Trying to act like it's only one-sided in either direction is what is going to cause the most destruction overall. Because it's just going to keep perpetuating violence. Because they're going to go, well, it's justified. It's justified. Oh, there was one more Reddit thing. One sec. I think it was a comment. Wait. Did I not like it? There was someone saying... God damn it. I can't find it. Whatever. We'll move on. There was basically someone trying to say, it was about the bomb shelters. When Ethan says that Hamas didn't even have bomb shelters, do you really think that they're like doing good for their people? And someone said, yeah, they were trying to use this argument. Yeah, police kill black children every day. Why don't the black parents send them out in bulletproof vests? And I was like, this is a really stupid argument, because do you not think black families ingrain like that thought into their head that you are going to be treated differently in society by like these like people in power? So you need to make sure that you like present yourself a certain way, talk a certain way to authority. Like that's not an uncommon thing at all. And when people try and paint that picture as like, oh, why don't the black parents put them in bulletproof vests? Yeah, just do it like that. It's like, no, what you're arguing is that they should just get all of the black people in their nearest community and go kill all of like the cops and everybody nearby, as if that's going to solve anything. And it's just such a weird, like, distilled argument. I am nervous for today. I am very nervous for today. Had to smoke heavy before this, you know what I mean? Got to get ready. But I did do this as well. So I have a timestamp doc where I made timestamps of this whole 4-hour podcast, because we're not going to watch the full 4-hour podcast, obviously. But then beyond that, I started making one for the conversation, but I realized Hassan cut out like the most important bit where Ethan's calling him out for his chat, which I find very disingenuous to the conversation. That was like a very like pivotal moment in like Ethan seeing the actual like depravity that's going on in Hassan's chat, and like the level of vitriol that they're spitting towards him. But we'll get to that at some point. What I really want to say is I think that Ethan needs to make sure that beyond just debating, he really like he has to have like every Hassan fallacy like on like a Word document or something, just to be as thorough as possible. But here we're gonna just start going through the timestamps. So this one was we won't stop being friends. I just found this part really funny. I was like, I need this in here.
But we're going to discuss everything. But I do want to make something very clear at the top of the show here, is that I've seen a lot of people expecting us to come froth and argue, and our friendship is going to end and the show is going to end or something like that. And I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but that's definitely not what we're planning on doing here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, instead we're going to solve the conflict in its entirety. Let's go.
It's never going to happen.
That's what we're going to do.
I honestly forgot about that line. I only put this in because Ethan said that we're going to remain friends. This isn't going to end our friendship, and it did. But this kind of shows the differences in their beliefs. Hassan thinks that it can be fixed in a day. I know he's joking to some degree, but there's just like clear levels of difference in the like nuance that they hold. But we move on to the next. So this is Ethan's position.
Listen, this isn't the first time I've said it, and I'll say it many more times. The cabinet is run by genocidal maniacs, okay? They're led by Netanyahu, who should resign in disgrace and go to prison for being a war criminal, okay? He's made a coalition of the most like radically conservative freaks that don't represent, by the way, the majority.
I know he showed this to Sam Cedar. I don't know why he doesn't ever just click this to show. So it's from October 12th, so 5 days after October 7th. I don't know why he kept going. I think it's like a couple days. He had it closed the whole time. I found that really funny. He was like, I think it was like a couple days after. It's like, yeah, it was. Just click it, Ethan.
Majority of Israelis. And they're hellbent on genocide, frankly, overtly. They've committed tons of war crimes in Gaza, including the killing of children, obviously, because Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world. 50% of the residents are under 18, so when you bomb a building, the chances that you're killing children is pretty much 100%. Okay? It's fucking barbaric. It's unacceptable. It's disgusting.
They haven't put up oh, there they go. I was like, we haven't got a thumbnail yet, but we did just have the live go up. Having a respectful conversation with ex-co-host Hassan Piker. Isn't this like what they did with Steven Crowder? It's about to go south. He's about to have Destiny come on. Oh no, he's gonna get Hassan banned from Twitch. Even though, hasn't XQC talked to Destiny? Or I guess not. He talked to Aiden Ross. Isn't Aiden Ross banned? Or I guess maybe he was just on Aiden Ross's stream. But
Disgusting. I seen videos, I saw videos of Palestinian dads holding his dead like 5-year-old daughter. I mean, and there was another one that like
Hassan's supposed to be calling in at 12:30, so I don't think they'll be any later than 12:30, considering that it's like it's gonna just look like he's dodging. Everyone's gonna be like, Ethan's dodging. He said he's sick and he's faking it. He faked everything. Imagine Ethan's so sick he doesn't come in a suit today. He comes in like a fucking robe, like a bathrobe. And he's like got a mug of coffee that he's like breathing over.
As a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old. And he was like patting her on the back and saying like his final goodbye. I mean, he's holding her like she's alive, like he's just burping her or something. I didn't expect to get emotional about that, but like I'm a new dad and that shit really fucks me up. And I hate to see it. It's not right. I think people in Israel that support the government and the government need to watch that shit. I think Israel shutting off water, power, and food to Gaza is insane. It doesn't even make sense. Like, what's the end goal there exactly?
I wanna cut in here for a second, and while you recollect your thoughts and say something. The feelings that you are demonstrating here, and the empathy that you're demonstrating and showing towards Palestinians, is unfortunately not represented by our administration, and it's not represented by our media. And I think that the irony is that in the aftermath of the Palestinian the Palestinian actions in southern towns in Israel,
Is that right?
led by Hamas.
I did find this interesting too. I think I had this part clipped. I put Hassan's position question mark because it does just sound like, I don't know how to explain it. Hassan really does do his best to go, well, we have to remember this is all Israel's fault. So we'll never don't let that part, like, who cares that Hamas did the action? It's ultimately Israel's fault. So we should be blaming Israel. And it's like, people will protest against Israel. They will say, some people will go, oh, they'll get more jaded and think that they need to side with Israel. But there will be voices that go, this is, obviously the, reciprocation of, the violence that has been committed on them. That they felt like it's so necessary to literally kill civilians. And it's disgusting, and it should never happen, and it should be frowned upon by the people that are on the outside. And that's the biggest issue, is that they really want to make it seem like I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just very it's very black or white. Like, I feel like there's so many grays within this conflict, and Ethan is so willing to give to contest all the, or not contest, to let go of all those points and like kind of just say that that's all that's all true, that they are just responding to the destruction that they've like had committed upon them, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't denounce the things that they did. Like that's just so insane. I think it's going to turn into a shouting match. I mean, here's the thing I did, right? This was I was just trying to think of what to talk about today on the stream. And so I wrote down a doc of what I would think would be like the best things to keep in mind when debating Hassan, and I called it the EVH doc. Make sure to not overqualify positions. Contend with claims made. It's not like you don't need to beg for the nuance in it and be like, oh well, like make your point, but make it like clear when you first state it. I say it later to just make sure to add those caveats when you first make the claim, so you don't have to overqualify later. And then dodge the info dumping. This isn't a wiki lecture. Hassan's just going to want to try and drop information on Ethan like crazy. And it really is just about the framing of the situation rather than the actual like content. Because they agree. Like that's the thing. Overall, they agree. And I don't understand why they don't, like, Hassan doesn't see that. That they agree on everything other than the framing that Israel should be destroyed. That's basically the last. Because Hassan even has said it to him, and I don't think I clipped it because I just got so frustrated that he cut that part. He cut the part about his chat out. But he says at one point that it isn't about getting rid of Israel. It's about the removal of the apartheid regime, and that's fine if that's what you want to say. But then say that. Actually, like say those words when you're talking about it, and don't frame it as the destruction of Israel. And then establish the definitions early. Need to establish if Zionism is, because like the whole thing is, it's not whether or not it's true that this is what Zionism means or this is the end all be all of the definition. But what you should have is an agreed upon definition for the debate. Because if you want to say the definition is a European colonial project aimed at the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, that's fine. They can agree upon that. But then Ethan's going to say, okay, then I'm not a Zionist. I'm not a Zionist, and I do not agree with that in any way. I do not agree in the destruction. But then I also think that this is just a weird framing, because you're saying that anybody that has vaguely heard of the word Zionism in relation to Israel and has voted on those polls is somehow very knowed and aligned with the aims. But I think that it's more clear that it's the movement for the establishment and maintenance of Israel as a Jewish nation. And you can think that that's wrong in terms of having you like reaching a point of ultra nationalism. You don't want that. Like that's what ended up screwing over Nazi Germany. And I don't think that Israel has reached that level yet, because obviously they have. I bring this up in the next part. Like, what is an ethno-state? A sovereign state where citizens and national identity are restricted on one racial or ethnic group. So you can. There are some other looser definitions where they say that it's not just restricted. It can be just swayed in one direction. But I think the fact that there are Arab citizens, there are Arab political politicians that sit in parliament, and the laws, but the laws like the nation state law, or I think I looked up something else because I was thinking of like the right of return and all that. I wrote this last night when I was low key a little drunk, but Jewish identity as the national character. You can think of it. I don't think of it as an ethno-state, but it operates with structural ethnic supremacy, which again can be bad. Like really, like realistically, this part is very bad. And if you want to think of ways that we can quell this, we can do that. But I don't think just saying creating a like whole one state where we just implement everybody together is going to be the overall solution. And then the last point that I had on this was to establish positions thoroughly, establish the caveats, like the fact that even though Israel has the right to exist, it does not have the right to exist in its current form. Obviously, Ethan supports reformation. but it's about the change that you want. See, I know Ethan knows more about this than I do. I have been researching this as long as they've been debating it. I turned 24 this month, so I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about this. But I just think about it from the perspective of an argument. You know what I mean? If you're going to have I think of these very broad terms. I think what Israel does is disgusting, but I also think what Nazi Germany did was disgusting, but I don't think that Germany should have wholly dissolved. I don't think South Africa should have wholly dissolved, because all it does is it seeds more hatred into the people that you are then expelling out of that region. Because if all the Israels are then dispersed out or moved to a specific place, imagine the amount of frustration that they'll have then. But Palestinians deserve freedom and dignity from both oppressive conditions put in place by Israel and Hamas. And I think if Hassan can't accept that part, then there is no even reason arguing this at the end of the day. And then this is not about choosing Team Israel or Team Palestine. This is about the betterment of humanity, the betterment of the societies around the world, and the stopping of destruction in totality instead of just, allowing one side, not even one side, allowing groups to do acts of violence for the sake of the whole. I just find that ridiculous. But I think I'll let Hassan continue with this part and then I'll move on. That's all I had to say from that, though. That was basically, I think Hassan is going to gish gallop. He's going to use all the debate bro terms that you can think of. And that's why you need to hold him down on the key points that we can hold him down on. Because he's going to just agree with terrorism at some point. That's what's going to happen if Ethan frames it correctly. Because Hassan, who cares about how much he knows? He believes that it's okay to commit terror acts on civilians for the means of political gains, as long as it's in the response to an overwhelming oppression. And violence should never be the answer.
Reaction from the Israeli population, specifically anti-Zionists living in Israel who are Jewish, and even Zionists living in Israel, was more tempered and more empathetic to the plight of Palestinians and truly understood that the violence of this occupation and the violence of an apartheid regime and the violence of endless bombing campaigns in an open-air prison was squarely at the heart of the violence that Israelis experienced on October 7th. I think that is very courageous for people living in Israel proper who lost their friends to come out and speak out against their own government immediately. And it is cowardly and disgusting for Americans who are thousands of miles away, who will never be impacted by this, to refuse to reckon with that and to continue demanding more blood and aligning themselves with an insanely unpopular, insanely reactionary, far-right government who has deliberately propped up Hamas as the singular force time and time again, who has humiliated, bullied, imprisoned, and occupied and stolen the lands of so many innocent Palestinians. And it is shocking to me that the consensus in Israel is more tempered
And that's what pisses me off
than
too.
the consensus in American media.
Like, I've seen way too many fucking people acting like all Israelis are fair targets. They're all settlers. They're
See, I think Ethan might have been a little frustrated. I don't think he fully grasped what Hassan was saying, because he was almost just saying that, well, it is justified to just keep talking about the terrible stuff that Israel's doing during this whole, like, Hassan talks in such like run-on sentences. I really don't know how to feel about it. Like, I never know if I'm getting real information, but Ethan saying that was the part I wanted to end on, because I was kind of because that was a lot that was a lot of what was going on when people would just say, well, who cares if they died? Their government did this. We can still care about the deaths of civilians, and you should.
all genocidal. Like, there's way too much fucking dehumanization of Israelis and the refusal to see, like, even understand their perspective at all. Like, if you can't understand why, after Hamas murdered up to now probably close to 2,000 people, if you don't understand why Israel would want to retaliate, then you're not in favor of peace. You're not, because I understand, and a lot of Israelis understand why Hamas exists and why Palestinians and Gazans want to fucking kill Israelis. I understand that, and I have that empathy. I feel that a lot of people, not all, even a minority, but enough that it's noticeable.
And I think that's a part that people forget. It's like, what you don't want to do is make the jaded become more jaded. And even so, like, when they're talking about all this stuff, they're still like giving all these concessions to Hassan about like the settlers being valid targets and all these things. But like, this point was interesting.
I want to say that I agree, and a lot of people in Israel do. It's disgusting, the people that are there right now in power. And if I can add something about the settlers, that's another point of frustration for a lot of Israelis. They send the soldiers to protect them. Soldiers that have to put their life on hold because the IDF is mandatory. They're just 18-year-old, they're children. They have to go and protect the settlers. The settlers don't go to the IDF. Orthodox people don't serve in the IDF.
Fucking nice.
So she's pointing out, like, it's mandatory conscription for the Israeli people, but for some reason they have to go protect the settlers, with their lives. These people that sometimes they don't even agree with, even though the settlers don't have to, do service in the IDF. I thought this part was really... Sometimes Ethan just says stuff that's so, like, eloquent, and I'm just like, whoa. Okay, English major. What did Olivia say he was? A creative writing major? Is that right?
Settlers.
And again, like Ela was touching on, you're sending young men out in harm's way to protect these provocateur, fucking religious zealots, radicals. And again, like Elis, the irony being that they don't even need to serve the military. I mean, it's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
So I think that it's especially important for people to keep in mind that Israel is so far from a monolith. It's people need to understand that, and that people need to understand that we're not all guilty of the crimes of our government, because if that was the case, heaven would be empty at the end of the day. I mean, this was the analogy I
thought that was like a very like poignant statement that, yeah, like if every person was guilty of the crimes of their government, everybody would be guilty. Everybody would be guilty of the most heinous crimes, because not just every government is current, like, maybe not every single government, but most governments are currently committing heinous crimes. But every government and country was founded on the slaughter of another like nation. It was founded on destroying somebody else. the unification of different, peoples through war, through battles, through destruction and slaughter. Like, it's very rare that things happen through like peaceful means, and the whole thing is about what we do now to try and like improve and move in a positive way, because like those things aren't happening as much now. Like people are obviously doing land grabs. Israel, Russia, those things are bad, and we should be against those things and trying to reform those countries that are doing those things. But to say that then every person is guilty of those crimes is ridiculous. Because we're all screwed. We all voted for Trump at that day, like at that point. And I know I didn't. But empathy to understand the enemy. I thought this was interesting too.
And I'm not,
because I think this is a true statement. And it would get clipped out of context, obviously, and it's why he needs to make sure that he clarifies in the moment, like as he's saying these things, rather than a few seconds later. You gotta look out for the chip clipping.
not saying it's, and I'm not, again, it's not about right or wrong. It's just about like having the empathy to understand your quote enemy, to understand the perspective. And I'm not asking Gazans necessarily even to be like, oh, well, I appreciate what they're going through. I'm talking about like people who want to fucking debate it all day long. And, you know, this stuff does influence people. The demonstrations you see out there that happened like immediately afterwards, these people have an effect on attitudes around the world.
I don't think that they have any say or any effect on the Western world's united defense of Israel.
It affects anti-Semitism, and it affects how people treat Jews, and it normalizes.
See, again, people will say, oh, why are you saying anti-Semitism? I think in this moment, bringing up xenophobia is like, it hits more, it illustrates the point a little bit better, because people will just say, I love Jews. I have Jewish friends. I'm Jewish. I hate Israelis. I want them all gone. It's like, okay, so you're just xenophobic against Israel. And like, if that's the point you're trying to make, that's okay. I mean, you could say that too, I guess.
By the way,
that's the point you want to make.
Israelis like animals.
I don't.
But yeah, I understand that he sees that there is the conflation already, and so he's pointing out that other people are making the conflation. But I think when you do that, it allows other people to take you out of context, saying that you're just seeing ghosts, you're seeing phantoms. These things aren't real.
Don't believe that we should treat Israelis like animals. And one thing that you have, I think, that many people do not, is the experiences that you mention as far as children hiding under their parents' bodies is, in this very fucked up way, identical to the existence of people living in Gaza every single day under brutal fire from a much more...
And so is either one of them justifiable? Just because they're both happening doesn't mean either one of them should be justified. And that's like the part that I think he's like forgetting, is what you're doing is the same thing that like the extremists in Israel do to justify the bombing campaigns. Like it's the exact same logic, saying, well, look at what they're doing to us. Look at these things that they've done time and time again. So it's okay to fight back. No, it isn't. It's never okay.
Superior military force.
It's okay to fight military, but I'm talking about civilians. Anytime civilians die, it's bad. I hate that everybody wants to make it like the obvious, like, oh, well, what are you talking about? People should fight back if they're being killed. Yeah, of course. But as soon as you run into some civilian's house and go, get the fuck out of here, or you're going to die, and I'm going to fucking murder you right now, it's bad. And obviously, it was bad when Israel came in and pushed Palestinian people out. But those things have already happened, and we need to figure out a way to move forward and uplift the communities that were. Like, I feel like I've said this so many times, that you cannot change the past. All you can do is try and uplift the communities that have been so like heinously and viciously and like destructively ruined. Like, that's all we can do now, is to try and like figure out ways to reform and to just uplift them. I don't know. That's about it. Because just doing destruction in the opposite direction is not going to solve any issues. It'll just cause more issues for others. Valid or not.
I don't believe that we should treat Israelis like animals.
Oh, I already had that clipped.
That is the constant position in both American media, and it is reflected in polling over and over again, where more than 50% of Americans side with Israel on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and only 9% of Americans actually side with Palestinians on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, constantly going back and forth about like what the DSA-affiliated organization doing like a Free Palestine demonstration or whatever in the aftermath of October 7 and saying that feels like you're in defense of Hamas, sweaty, is unproductive, and it also doesn't even reflect anything. It doesn't reflect the reality. We know that in the Western world, Palestinians have no...
it's like, it's emotional. You just you
I
can't blame people for seeing that and getting upset.
But if you recognize that, then you recognize when you see a sea of I stand with Israel. I stand with Israel. Israel must ethnically cleanse Gaza.
I do.
And
I do
varying
recognize
degrees
that.
of people saying that.
I always.
Yeah, we'll probably watch the Sam convo after I'm done with these, just because it was really strange. It was very odd.
Then how are Muslims in America that have lived in a massive surveillance state post 9/11? How are Muslims in the Western world who are constantly treated like fucking dogs, who literally are used as a political pawn, even though their homes have been destabilized by America's unjustifiable post 9/11 actions in the form of the war on terror? How are they supposed to think, oh, well, I guess everybody wants us fucking dead. I guess everybody wants the Palestinians to die. Everyone thinks that this is the normal position. Everyone thinks this is the constant position. Like, of course, they are going to look at that and...
Trump made what point moot?
Think the exact same things that you're saying Israelis are feeling, the exact paranoia that Israelis are feeling. And quite frankly, if we look at the asymmetry of violence, if we look at the displacements, if we look at the subjugation, the brutal colonial occupation of not only Palestinians, but many other Muslim countries that have also...
Because I think that the thing that Hassan and the people that orbit Hassan don't realize is that all that Ethan and all that I'm looking for is it's the condemnation of Hamas and terrorism. That's all it is. We can move past any other thing and say that Israel is destructive. Israel is, committing genocide in these areas. They're doing these like terrible things. We can agree on certain points, but if you can't agree that Hamas is also a terrorist organization that does horrific things, then what is the point of trying to come to some like agreement?
Been ruthlessly occupied and slaughtered by Western coalition forces, it is perfectly understandable and well within the right of Muslims to look at that and be understandably paranoid, and not necessarily paranoid thinking that, you are going to have Hamas forces do a second Holocaust in Israel, when the exact opposite is happening to Palestinians right now. Do you disagree?
No.
Okay. All right. That's why I think it's unproductive that a lot of, not you, but like especially so many liberals in America are like, oh man, the optics of this look really bad. And also, Palestinians really...
I don't think I clipped the part of Hassan crying, so I'll just show it. that he also has emotions. He cared about the babies weren't that didn't matter that much. He cared more about the Palestinian reporter that died, I think. Still very sad and disgusting what he says that they did to her funeral. But I don't know. Talk about asymmetry.
Fucked up their chances of emancipation. It's like you have to be oblivious to the reality, and I know you're not, but others have to be oblivious to the reality of the Palestinian existence to make such callous takes, to be like, oh, well, optics sweaty. No, the optics in that situation just imply
it does matter.
Oh, we got a thumbnail. I said we have a thumbnail. There we go. Ryan said, this feeling is like receiving a "we need to talk" text. Wow. You're so right, Ryan. Great stuff.
Optics do matter.
I know optics matter, but optics don't matter because optics matter in general, but optics do not matter when we talk about the plight of Palestinians, because there's not a single person that is out there defending them in the West.
I found this so interesting because he basically is saying that people support Israel over Hamas. I mean, yeah. People support Israel over Palestine, so we must be diametrically opposed and wholly differentiate ourselves from them. We cannot have any points similar or give them any
thing.
We can't give up. We can't take 1 foot back. Any step back is a loss for us. That's a good question. Where is Balls chat? Need him at a time like this.
Here. So here he is doing a podcast.
I've been on, I think is this Deprogram? I've been on the podcast.
I don't know what it's called, but this is just a clip from, yes.
Yeah.
So here's his take on this, and let's listen.
Can I just say, Hassan got really meek at this point, where he was just like, they're my friends. I like them. What's wrong with them? What? There was also a few moments where Ethan was trying to look Hassan in the eyes, and Hassan wouldn't look at him. You got to work on that, man. You got to alpha up.
The Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
Yeah, the occupiers are not civilian.
First of all, just straight off the bat,
the person that's targeting is Hakim. He is a doctor in Iraq, and of course, just to put this into a decent frame of reference for those who are unfamiliar, I think he will probably have a much more ruthless position on the matter, considering how he feels about American forces and what they've done to his
This
home
I'm pretty sure
family.
is all second thought.
No, the one who said...
No, I know.
Yeah.
Here.
He says, did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news?
So wait, who's talking there?
That's Hakim.
Okay, so second thought's the one who says, I don't care, and laughs.
Wait, say it.
I don't care.
Yeah.
This
No,
guy.
that's
The
Hakim.
occupiers,
I don't.
The guy with the accent.
Yeah, that's Hakim. Second thought is an American.
So second thought is the guy who's asking the question.
No, Hakim is the one who read it. He's reading it from chat. It's a super chat.
Did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
yeah.
Well, anyway, he agrees with him, so let's just fucking listen
go
to
on.
the clip.
The occupiers
I don't-
are not civilians. That is what it comes
Yeah.
down to. Like imagine
French-
like if
Sorry, go on.
Germany, let's say Germany to be
That's him, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
controversial.
And not that it matters.
invaded the United States, and they said, you know what, Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false. But they take your home, they murder your grandma, they bulldoze like your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there? No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. That is, there are no civilians there. In the
So-
illegal-
So,
You wanna pause it?
according to second thought,
Mm-hmm.
he says that every Israeli
AB posted a new video.
is an occupier,
Was that
and there are
real?
no citizens there in response to
No way.
There are
decapitating
there are
babies,
two
which I
different
can now say.
there are two different schools of thought here. So the first is
And the take in the
19
comments is
I see.
based.
I'll
the
watch that
nine
too.
yeah, of course. The 1948ers believe
It's almost
that
time to
there's
get
two different schools
crazy.
of thought within I would say anti-Zionism. those who believe that all matter of settlements that were propped up even in the inception of the Israeli
Good they got a puppy, not what Hassan's saying.
nation state are unjustifiable, and that they are settlers. So they extend beyond your perspective that you agree with. Which
That could get clipped so bad. I was reading chat about the puppy and went, "That's dope." Kind of bad, little bad timing. My bad.
Just because
West Bank is a settler occupation.
I think it's an extremely evil thing to say, what he said.
Let me ask you this.
No. What do you think? What he said is evil?
I think it is, one, unproductive, and two, it does not meet the realities on the ground, and it's not a viable solution.
Calling, just to be clear, calling babies.
No, of course not.
Settlers.
Of course.
And they're not even living.
They're not.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
they're babies.
So I just want to say, I just want to.
I like that he backtracks that in a few minutes and goes, "Well, there are babies in the settlements."
Say that this guy's a fucking evil piece of shit for saying that.
Can I ask you a question?
Can I finish? Let me finish the
Okay,
video.
we'll finish this, but I do have a question.
All the people that were looking forward to Sam moderating are kind of like kicking their own feet right now. I feel like, because everyone thinks that we need a moderator for today. Everyone's like, we need Hassan and Ethan to have a moderator, or else it's going to just end up in mayhem. I think if they have a moderator, it's not going to change anything. Most moderators fail at their job. Any internet debate that I've watched, the moderators basically just end up going, "Yeah, I'm just going to I'm going to take a back seat here." Hassan is the master of deflecting, and that's why I feel like it's necessary for Ethan to make everything clear from the get-go. Everything has to be very clearly stated, or else it's going to just easily be misconstrued.
I think you're going to agree with something I'm about to say.
Yes. Let's just finish it and then we'll talk.
Invaded the United States, and they said, you know what? Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false. But they take your home, they murder your grandma, they bulldoze your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there?
Why the fuck is he using? This is why I'm just these people don't know anything about history, because this is just such a fucking stupid example. Why don't you just talk about when Nazi Germany literally invaded Poland and killed went on slaughter campaigns? What are you talking about, making up this random analogy? Obviously those people weren't the civilians there, but if they had brought families with babies and people over, you wouldn't just go in and kill all the women and children and dogs and cats and everything there. That's just such a stupid argument.
No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. That is, there are no civilians there in the illegal military occupation.
Yeah. So that's number one.
I mean, that's so callous. It's kind of hard to fucking even believe just how.
Any encampment set up are not civilian. It's just so stupid. I'm like, what?
Flippant. He can.
Yes, we know that part, but as soon as you're trying to say that there's no civilians at all, it's there's obviously civilians there. If you bring in women and children, those are the civilians. If you bring in men that aren't working and aren't in the fucking, there are civilians. I don't understand. But if you're going just we're gonna kill everybody, we're gonna slaughter all the children, everybody, don't leave a single soul alive. Anyone breathing is it means we lost. If anyone makes it out.
Can be about calling.
And I know it's sexist to just say women and children. I'm just saying that's the general claim is basically anybody that's not in the military, anybody that's not militarily a force.
Babies, militants that are deserving to be killed.
Very beautifully put. Number two, much more importantly, the track record of Palestinians has been 1,000 times better than that of the Israeli occupation, despite the fact that Israeli occupation does not need to brutalize. They already have all the power, but they still choose to do far worse. The worst that will happen to a person in Palestinian custody is that they're going to be auctioned off for a prisoner swap, which is the historic track record also.
And of course,
he's not wrong about this. This is the original goal for the
Hassan's goal isn't to beat Ethan in the debate. I think that really someone was saying that Hassan is just going to try and talk to the audience, but beyond that, he's just going to try and talk to anybody that's tangentially related to this. That's like, oh, let me see what this is, to try and make Ethan seem bad, and then just pull over randoms. Because that's what's going to happen. Is he's just going to get flooded with a bunch of people that love him or hate him, and that's what he wants. He wants to just seem good enough to pull in the people that think they don't like him but don't know enough about it.
The military, the excursion, at least if you believe
I'm not exactly having a ton of faith in the dudes that decapitated babies to treating their POWs really well.
Well,
I think that's kind of a psychotic take too, where it's like it's like, why are you trying to give Hamas the benefit of the doubt on this one? You know, being like, oh, they treat their prisoners fucking awesome. You know, let's not try to do that.
Okay. So,
but anyway, and that combined with just the callous, the laughter.
Listen.
Hold on.
Did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're laughing about it.
So let me pose a question for you.
Go ahead.
So you have said that those
People were saying, I just want Nate to flash Destiny on screen for a second. Let me just look at Destiny streamer. Like, for just like one split second, just pull up this. Like he's about to start talking. And then just have it fade out real quick. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. Ethan doesn't like Destiny. They did a whole bit. They did a whole segment about what he did, all the shit going on with him. I honestly don't even know what's going on with him now, because I've said this in the past. I used to watch Destiny just because I didn't know who Lonerbox was, honestly. Destiny did a little bit more research, so I was like, okay, I can look at him actually doing the research and see what he has to say about this. But then as soon as I heard all, like, even the slightest bit of shit, I was like, okay, time to put do not recommend to this channel, and we're good to go. But that was second thought. I think I might have already played this.
The point is,
it's Friday.
The result of this, these people are pro-Palestine. The result...
Oh, they need Gabe in the middle of the debate. They need Gabe to come in and be like, yeah, free Palestine, baby, fuck yeah. They need to have Gabe do that. And then, but then he says, but just reform Israel, baby. Don't destroy it. Fuck yeah. They really give Gabe a couple lines. They feed him a couple lines real quick.
Of this is literally the opposite of any possible intended consequence, which is Netanyahu gets more power.
See, I think it's pathetic when I see all of the Hassan simps watching like Ethan content, like watching anything that has H3 like related stuff. I think that's like weird and pathetic. But the fact that Hassan keeps tabs on Ethan and Destiny, the people that he's like, oh, I don't like these people, I don't care about them, I don't care about their opinions. You're just such a little coward bitch, bro. It's so fucking just pathetic. Just talk about him and be like, oh, I saw this today. You don't need to keep these little secretive tabs, and then when it's apparent, be like, so I just saw this. This just randomly came up on my Twitter feed. I was like, what the fuck? When really he has people in his fucking Discord sending him links, being like, look what Destiny just posted. I just watched his 12-hour stream. Look at this. Look at this.
Internationally and domestically, when people are...
They don't just watch the whole podcast. They pay for memberships. To pay for memberships for stuff that you hate, they're probably paying on Apple devices too, and are paying Apple a couple extra bucks for no reason. It's fucking insane, these fucking so-called socialists.
Already fucking hated him and his government. the Western countries are basically backing up Israel's genocide and encouraging it and sanctioning it.
Ooh,
The Gaza.
please, someone record his chat and upload it to Reddit, because he's gonna say, "Look at all the chats we delete, though. Look at all the chats that we delete." But watch how many come through, because there are so many times when you'll see one scroll up, and I've been wondering this about Hassan. On his stream, he has the chat going kind of behind him. Does he have it going all the way down? Because that would be kind of smart, because then he can have like his moderators try and filter stuff out before it reaches this top bit. But I don't know if he does that. That's just speculation. But a thought indeed. It's just like, I don't understand what Ethan could do other than say Israel needs to be destroyed. I don't know what people are going like really want from this.
Citizens are now being bombed. Their food, power, water is being shut off. Although that happens regardless at times.
Always.
But so like
if the argument here is that if second,
the concessions that Ethan gives is what's so like, it's just appalling to me that Hassan doesn't give any back. Because Ethan even goes in that moment, they cut off the water, but even so, they do that regardless. They cut off the water in Gaza and the West Bank all the time. They just, you know, don't give people the access to different stuff, not just water, but you get what I'm saying. And I think that point is just so, it just illustrates the nuance that Ethan's willing to work under, and the fact that Hassan isn't. The reason I didn't want to show a lot of the stream too is just because a lot of it is just them saying the same points over and over again, because Hassan wants to dance around his argument.
I agree. But I think he's evil.
But
He's
I
a
also
scumbag.
will point once again that what he's saying here is the Israeli policy in the other direction. It has been the reality in the other direction.
Which is not good.
I know you don't agree with that, but I'm saying because you don't agree with that, it is.
This is the main problem I'm having with all this stuff.
I know that's the main problem you have with all this stuff, and that's why I'm trying to say.
That's the thing I'm worried about, is Israel-Palestine seems secondary to the whole issue that Ethan has with Hassan. So I'm hoping that is only like the first section of the debate. And I think that the points that I was making earlier still kind of can follow through on what needs to happen, but they need to make sure, Ethan just needs to make sure that the Israel-Palestine conversation that's going to end up happening during this debate, he needs to make sure that his points are clear, because they're not going to care about anything else that's said. They're not going to care about any clips that they show of Hassan being a terrorist. They're not going to care about any of that if even for a second it seems like Ethan's saying that, oh, Israel's full, it's good. Israel's government's amazing. That's how they're going to paint the whole conversation.
Say it's not even remotely a point of contention, and it's not even remotely equivalent, and it's not even remotely.
I don't think people should
have this conversation.
This guy's way too comfortable just going out there publicly and being applauded.
What do you think?
Ethan doesn't advocate for Israel to change. He advocates for people to accept Israel will commit war crimes. What did you get that from him saying that Netanyahu is a war criminal who should resign and in shame and go to prison? Did you get that from him saying that it's disgusting when they cut water off to the Palestinian people? If you really just want to be that uncharitable, I'm just going to mute you from the chat. It's my favorite thing to do. I was just talking about how pathetic it is that people like you are in here. Go watch some Hassan orbiter. Why are you in an H3 related stream at all? So weird.
Is the solution here? What should be done with him for saying that?
Do you think that Gallant was bad in wanting to end the war, regardless of the reason why? Even if you want to end the war for your own selfish, oh, we're not gaining anything from it, you still want to end it. I think that's better than not wanting to end it at all.
I got that from his convo with Sam yesterday when they were talking about what should have happened after October 11th. Yeah, what are you talking about?
Criticism is
Let me guess. You watched the first video you watched of H3 was front white, back white. Which way do I white?
doesn't stand on its own. Why do I need to like be punitive?
No, you said you're upset. I mean, I think
upset.
you're well within your right to
I'm
be
criticizing.
critical.
I'm criticizing. I'm not asking for.
I think you're well within your right to be critical of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, I will reaffirm my position that if he was saying this about Palestinians instead of Israelis, that would not only be not
Yeah, and they said that it was bad that they said that he was a good guy and they took it back. Has Hassan taken back any time that he is played like terrorist propaganda? Has that ever happened?
condemned at all by a singular person. That would be the specific policy position of the entirety of the Western world.
Israelis and the Western world are monsters, then we shouldn't care when the opposite people are monsters, because it
not
doesn't
necessarily.
matter. Well,
I think
kinda
because
seems like what you're
I think
arguing.
no, that's not what I'm saying, because I don't agree with what he's saying regardless.
That was the only part I wanted to show, is that he did say that he doesn't agree with what Second Thought was saying, and that he does think that it's unproductive. So I did want to give him at least that credit. This was the one thing I got, was just them talking. Honestly, I don't even care to show this, because I know arguing the weeds about how bad Israel is and how bad Hamas is, it's not worth the argument. I just don't think that it's necessary at all. Israel has the right to exist, not the way that it does currently. It needs to reform the government that it's, using to uphold an oppressive campaign over the Palestinian people. They obviously need to reform that, but I also don't think that can happen without Hamas being reformed. And a lot of Palestinians agree with that. So. But the reason I wanted to show this was I was watching this and I was trying to get to this point where because Ethan cries and walks off and he's upset, but he cut out this, like, the very important part where Ethan's explaining that your chat is saying all this shit and you don't want to, like, stop them in any way. And I think that this is where the conversation is, like, actually starts, because people can have differing opinions on Israel-Palestine, but if you're going to be okay with people upholding, like, these aggressive, like, perspectives on the people that are your opposition, like, you shouldn't want to kill your opposition. You should want them to change their perspectives. I feel like that should be more, like, apparent in these types of communities.
And I think your heart is in the right place, but they don't know. So it's hard. It's hard for people to view what you're saying beyond your words.
I'm just telling you the perspective. You disagree. That's it. I mean, what the fuck do you want from me?
Okay, but do you get where I'm coming from? Like, that's why I'm trying.
I understand your analysis, dude.
Okay,
I understand your analysis.
I'm thinking I'm going to do a reaction to the debate tomorrow, because there's no way I'm going to be able to watch. It's going to be so long. I'm not going to watch it all on Monday. So I'm thinking I'm going to do a debate reaction tomorrow.
I don't want my community to hurt your feelings. I don't want your feelings to be hurt
Dude,
either.
they're not hurting my feelings. They're monsters. They're
Ethan's
like
going to get Willy Medicked.
No, I think you're a good.
Not all of them, but there are a lot of them, and you don't seem to care about moderating it at all.
That's not true.
Whereas when you're on my show, we really do care about what people say about you on Discord and chat, and we moderate it to keep, like, a good environment. But you don't seem to fucking care about it.
There's no way I can shut off my chat. I mean, I can put it in emote mode, but that's it.
Do you not have
like you shut off
moderators?
your chat. Just like you shut off your chat when these sorts of conversations happen in an effort to stop bad faith pieces of shit, we can put it in emote mode, which is what I'm doing now. But ultimately, But ultimately, you have to realize, like, when there's 33,000 people, and it's not even YouTube, it's literally fucking Twitch, so that it's even faster. It's almost impossible to moderate because people are going to perceive what you're saying in a certain way. This is not like there's only so much moderation I can do if you make that comparison.
Do you have moderators in your chat? I don't understand. I didn't make any fucking comparison, dude. I'm literally just explaining how people feel about it. That's all I'm fucking doing, man. And you continue to put words in my mouth, making it seem like I'm comparing them to fucking Jewish Nazis and shit.
Hold on.
It's so fucked up. It's not fair.
Hey,
And when you say that shit, then people in your chat are obviously gonna co-sign it, and they're gonna fucking
Wait, was he wearing fucking jorts? Is Hassan wearing fucking jorts? I need the magnifier. Fuck, this is gonna fuck up my screen for a second. The fuck is the mag? He gets up for a second. I swear to God, he's in fucking jorts. Oh my God. I need to zoom in on this. Come on. Wait, is he in his fucking underwear? No, okay, they're jorts. They're jorts, I think. Why does it look like he's in ripped short shorts? He's rocking the Daisy Dukes. That was great. I just wasn't expecting that. I feel like that goes against a lot of his aesthetic. But I guess maybe it goes with it. I really thought it was underwear for a second. That's why I'm laughing. I was like, Jesus Christ, is he really just gonna get up? Rocking some heart bottoms?
Co-sign it. And they're gonna fucking, think that, as I quoted, a Zionist fucking freak pig. I mean, I don't know. For the record, I understand the analysis, right? That it's not anti-Israel or anti-Semitic. I understand. And I agree with his analysis, actually. I do. I'm explaining why Jewish people around the world find it offensive. And I can tell you guys, most Jews do find it offensive because the way they interpret it, which is the destruction of Israel. That's how they interpret it, whether it's meant that way or not. And I think that it's worth, acknowledging that that's how people feel about it. Keep using it by all means.
Sorry, I was gone.
I'm talking to the audience.
Can you hear me?
Okay. I'm telling the audience because I don't think I can.
You know why? But
I'm just explaining to the audience that I'm.
Ethan was just talking to the audience, I think, in that moment. Yeah, he wasn't. Imagine he sees Hassan come back and he goes, "Fuck, you were chair reacting to me."
I'm simply explaining why people interpret it to be anti-Semitic or anti-Israel.
See, the thing is this is like the whole thing. Ethan is willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that there are people that don't use it in anti-Semitic ways. Why can't you give the same like benefit of the doubt that yeah, there are probably people that also do use it as anti-Semitic. But here's the reason, like basically what Hassan needs to do is say, like, I'm trying to make sure that you're more aware for when people are saying it, they're not always being anti-Semitic. But Hassan needs to also realize that sometimes when they're using it, they are, because they're wanting to destroy all of Israel from the river to the other side, which is like from one side to the other side, all of it.
Because of the insinuation that it is from the river to sea, they interpret it as it being a call for the destruction of Israel. You can use that phrase, and I agree with your analysis, Hassan, that you know what I mean, that people can use that phrase. It's okay. You know what I mean? I'm just explaining the perspective. If you care to respond to it or not.
No, I get the perspective.
If you want to keep using the phrase, that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm just explaining I don't like that people act like it's so fucking shocking that, you know, when Jewish people see that and interpret it one way. It's not fair to make them seem like crazy Zionist
if you see
for interpreting it that way.
If you see my explanation of this, and if you hear Palestinians explain this term and this slogan and what it means to them and the history of the slogan, right? And instead of going, oh wow, I didn't think about that. Actually, maybe I'm in the wrong here. I would rather listen to those who are anti-Zionist Palestinians and also.
But then also, I thought this was interesting too. Here, I'll go back to this one. Someone in the comments here. Do. I was looking through the comments on this because I wanted to see if anyone else was talking about it. I also thought this was funny is that people were saying like, yeah, Ethan never used to talk about anti-Semitism as much, and it just has become so prevalent that he's had to. What a difference in 1 year. Yeah, what a difference. But someone was saying they were talking about they were talking about that moment. God damn it. I knew I should have like took a screenshot of it. God damn it. But it was basically someone talking about this saying like, I loved the part where Ethan said, are you going to moderate your chat? And Hassan said, you're an adult. You should get like, you're an adult, care about yourself or some shit. And that part isn't in this clip at all, like at all. And so I think that either there are bots that go to like all these different videos just commenting like similar shit, or there's people that really do just go through the different videos related to Hassan just to try and like shit on somebody with something that they read on Reddit. It's kind of insane. And how many hours does it start? It's supposed to start in the next hour. I'm hoping they start on time today. I really am. I'm going to try and relax. I'm going to put in a headphone. I might get in the pool for a second, do some cardio, you know? I gotta try and get the energy out somehow. I want to say thanks so much for everybody that's in here right now. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do this H3 waiting room. I'm going to go to... Oh, what I was going to look at now... Because that's all I cared about from this, honestly, is we've all seen the Content Cop. We could rewatch that, but I would like to look at the Sam Cedar debate with H3, with Ethan Klein. With H3, like Steiny says. Yo, H3. Yo, H3. Talk to Sam Cedars. How long is it? It's from... They go for about an hour and 13 minutes, I think. I did think it was funny, that clip of Sam not remembering what the H3 podcast was called. He's like, what's it called? H3N? What was it? That's what I'm trying to understand. You're so right, Spicy Mikey. Are we supposed to expect it to be like a super long debate? It's either going to be 5-6 hours long or 2 hours long, and they're going to just get at each other's throats super quick and tear each other apart. I just realized I was listening to this with no audio. But here, let's try it again. Like all adults, at one point we have to keep up with being called racist by our friends chat for trying to get some empathy and understanding for anti-Semitism. Yeah, the H3 network. They're gonna come up with it eventually. He wanted to create his own podcasting network, and they'll do it. After all of Twitch dissolves, all of those guys will start their own podcasts, and Ethan can run them. And then move away from doing the H3 podcast and let Zach run the watch shop. Or what was it? Not the watch shop. What did Zach want to run? It wasn't even a watch store. It was a car shop. It was a mechanic shop. That's it. We're getting sidetracked.
Oh no, Sam Cedar! What a fucking nightmare!
How have you been, Sam, since we ruined Steven Crowder's life together? Nice to see you
I've
again.
been feeling very badly for him.
Yes,
over the years.
it's a tragic loss.
I think Sam wanted to seem like he didn't know much about this, but the fact that his co-host seems to be very in the know, at least in the snark sector of this like controversy, he had to have been filled in on something. Well, he's a Zionist, so he's going to try and lie to you about his Zionist tendencies.
Of a great career and so much potential.
Yes, it is. Hey, are we live now?
We are live on the H3 channel, yes.
I want to just start by sort of apologizing in that I sent you a DM on Twitter.
Yeah, it wasn't even a mechanic shop. It was a car wash. God damn it. I was way off.
6 months ago.
I guess detailing, get a pinstripe.
Or something. I was just going through to find out, and then I just realized you're no longer on Twitter.
Yeah.
So that explains why I didn't hear back.
He may yeah, I didn't see it. I wish I would have, but honestly, I don't know what to do because like I want to get off Twitter, but also it's kind of a pain because Twitter is the way that like I would reach out and speak to most.
His mind was poisoned and his brain was broken.
People, but I also don't want to be on a platform that's like owned and perpetuates basically like Nazi shit. So
yeah, this was yes, I understand that.
Yeah,
but I just wanted you to know I did reach out, and it was on me not to realize that.
I'm not gonna go into Hassan's chat just because I don't want to like end up accidentally bringing a bunch of fucking of his fans over here. But that sounds hilarious if he's really just like, yeah, I didn't even prepare for this. Still just done. He probably watched the fucking content nuke like 3 times in preparation, like no joke. You know Hassan just bullshits when he says all that. I don't even need to prepare, man. I just know.
I just assumed he didn't want to respond, but
okay, well, that's nice to know that you reached out. I appreciate that. And the reason, I mean, obviously, people have been pushing for this conversation. I don't know if you know like the whole lore of it, the background of it.
I don't. I mean, this is all I know is that Hassan reached out to me sometime. I mean, I got in touch with you.
I thought you were talking about the Wells Fargo thing. I was like, what are you talking about, the ad on the side? This isn't that bad. Get Ozempic for just $45. Hey, man. It's $45 first and then $145 a month. Don't get tricked.
October 24th. And I said that I was meaning to reach out for a couple of weeks. So I assume it was sometime in early October. And I thought we were just going to do this off air. But my understanding is that you and he were getting into it, and you felt like because he wasn't Jewish, he didn't have a perspective on this, and that's why he suggested that you speak to me.
The chat was up yesterday, right? Because they have turned off chats for debates before for contentious arguments and stuff. So they might have chat off. But regardless of if they have chat off, both of the regular Reddit and the Snark Reddit are going to have Reddit threads dedicated to the discussion.
Don't speak for all Jews, just to be clear.
Right.
I speak for only myself as a in any form.
Well, Sam, allow me to speak for all Jews, if I may, today.
What are they trying to tell us?
No, actually, I mean, that's a total mischaracterization, which is kind of my problem with Hassan, which we can get into if you want. We don't even have to talk about Hassan. But basically, what I told him was that I was citing polling data that shows that about 70 to 80% of diaspora Jews have some kind of positive feelings towards the state of Israel. And he was disagreeing with me. And I mean, this is available by polls, readily available by Pew Research just last month, showing that, and I don't know if you agree with that or not, I can pull it up, but 72% of diaspora Jews have.
Was Hassan actually watching when everybody was saying this stuff? Because if he was, that makes it even more funny. The fact that he was like, "Oh, I can't watch the content nuke. All I can do is watch the content cop on you," and then the not your reply to it, but the replies to your replies, and everything tangentially related, but nothing of actual substance.
some type of at least positive feelings about the state of Israel. I was stating that fact to him, and he was saying that I was wrong. And I said, who are you to talk about this? I did not say that I only listen to Jewish people, which is a little bit of presumptuous and a little insane.
No, I don't think that's not what I took him to say. But yeah, I mean, as long as that's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I haven't seen that poll. I've seen ones that have said that they have a connection. They feel a connection, either strong or somewhat, which is different than positive per se.
So
but regardless.
When I heard him say this, that's where I knew, okay, this conversation's down the fucking drain. When I heard him say this part, I was just like, okay, so this is all going to be a semantical argument. Like, not a Semitic argument. This is all semantics, like legitimately. He's definitely just going like, well, just because they said they have a connection doesn't mean it's a positive connection. I have a connection to Israel, but it's because I have a negative feeling towards it. That is not the general like consensus of how you would feel about that phrasing at all.
I mean, I think if I don't know your upbringing at all, but I mean, certainly my upbringing, my Hebrew education was, I would say 1/3 Holocaust, and I'm older, and so this was in the 70s, 1/3 into the 80s, 1/3 Holocaust, 1/3 Israel, 1/3 Hebrew, like Hebrew and Jewish culture. And
also, can they pick a side? Is Ethan on Ozempic or is he on Coke? What caused the weight loss? You can't do it all. He'd look like a twig.
I certainly feel a strong connection to Israel, but I wouldn't call it positive these days.
Sure. I think what the poll attempts to is basically, if you ask Hassan or a lot of people on the left, I think an emotional attachment is the way to describe it. So it's like if you think
I certainly have an emotional attachment, and it's not, but it's not. I wouldn't describe it as positive.
This story starts with a murder.
No, it doesn't.
This isn't the one, is it, Dan? There's the one that shows 73% of diaspora Jews. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Regardless, basically, I want to flesh out my ideas, my thoughts, because I'm being characterized by Hassan and a lot of his co.
Well, I mean, here's one from Pew Research. 8 in 10 U.S. Jews say caring about. I mean, here's just about U.S. Jews, but here, like, 8 in 10 U.S. Jews say caring about Israel is an essential or important part of what being Jewish means to them. Nearly 6 in 10 say they personally feel an emotional attachment to Israel. And a similar share say they follow news about the Jewish state, at least somewhat closely. So this is to say that caring about Israel is an essential or important part of what being Jewish means to them. I think that's a little more than just a vague emotional attachment. Like, there's obviously some kind of, and painting all those people as genocide supporters is where you've lost the plot.
Cohorts as being, a Zionist, being pro-Israel, being an Israel apologist, being a genocide supporter, being a baby killer, being married to a baby killer, etc., right? My wife is Israeli. I don't know if you know that. So basically, I would like to just take the opportunity to explain my ideas, what I think about Israel, and you can tell me what you think, because apparently I will only listen to other Jewish people. So finally, I can speak to someone whose opinion matters to me. So thank you, as the official sanctioned Jewish man, Sam Cedar, everybody. 100% Ashkenazi. You ever taken one of those?
I haven't, but I'm quite sure I have some Sephardic Jewish ancestry too. So I would mix.
That's
Vilnius and Hungary, I think.
Good for you. I think that's always a good thing. My friend, I'm 99.3%. So that's my. That's where my authority comes from.
I'll take your word for it.
So at any rate, let me start here by showing you a little context.
Oh, let me also just say I got about an hour.
Okay, great. I'll just get into it then. Here it is. Not that it matters, but okay, whatever. So let's start here. Let's start with a little icebreaker here. I know we're both fans of Tim Pool. Okay. Let's just enjoy this image together. Tim Pool recently had a wedding, and
again, Ethan extends the olive branch, trying to break the ice.
Can you see that?
Did he get married?
Well, I think he's attending a wedding.
Okay.
And he's very formally dressed, except he appears to be wearing a beanie.
I'm aware of his beanie attachment.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought this was a fine look for our good friend Tim Pool there. Very good.
Nice suit.
See, here's the thing, is the reason I think that he was filled in by his co-host and like the other people that work in the Majority Report is because
he didn't want to seem like there was any good like there was any like good relation between them. He didn't want a second for them to be smiling on screen together, or like, you know, laughing about the same thing. He's just kind of like, yep, you're right.
Yeah. So, well, let me ask you this: what have you kind of like heard about me? Because I mean, I know that your colleagues have an
I gotta be
opinion.
honest with you. I have not heard much.
Okay.
I have like, you know, the only thing I really saw that came up in any of my
Ethan basically did the thing of when you show your friend an Instagram post and you're like, hey bro, check out this post, and you're like waiting for them to laugh, and you're like, and then you just have to move on.
mentions on
And that's
Blue
what he
Sky,
did.
I'm also on Blue Sky, is just this issue about talking to me, and I had presumed that that was it. But I don't, you know, like, look, from my perspective, I'm not, you know, and I know that there's been, you know, you mentioned in the email that there's been a lot of grief that you've taken, and I know that other people have also taken grief on all sides of this. And, you know, the personal aspects of this, and, you know, I don't believe that people, I don't actively attempt to deplatform people. I don't think people should do that. I don't think people should be swatted or, try to.
I mean, I think all Ethan needs to do is he doesn't even need to play the content cop. Just have the content cop script pulled up and maybe have changed a few things to bullet points so that he could just easier find like a few things. And I think that'll probably just cook him. He'll just be like, it's pretty simple. Explain this, then explain this. Because I think that's the thing is, what they need to do is neither one of them needs to try and argue their point. They only need to contest the counter arguments, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to like establish any type of like they're going to establish anything, because it's just going to seem like they're running away. They're not like, you know, oh, they're not answering the questions. They literally just have to go, what do you think? You think this? Okay, that's not true because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, you think this? Okay, that's not true because of X, Y, and Z. And they can do that back and forth until they whittle it down all the way until it's like, okay, you believe that Israel has the right to exist in some way. It needs to change a lot of things, but it should exist. You believe that Hamas should keep killing people. We'll see. I mean, Hassan just loves to fucking like gish gallop and fucking weave his way around his arguments, and he makes stuff so unclear. It's kind of frustrating.
To be fired or whatever, or have CPS sicked on them or any of that. I mean, I just don't.
Sam's like 58. He's about to be 60. He's getting up there, but that's the thing is you too, H3 last week, you're silver foxes, and that's what you want to be. You want to age with grace. People like Hassan, once they hit this age, he's going to still be trying to look young, wearing the beanie, being like, hey guys, what's up? You see my new pearl bracelet? And it's like, bro, you need to adapt. You need to change your fits over time to, you know, you gotta adapt with the time, my friend. He's looking good for his age. The glasses work, the slightly unbuttoned collared shirt. He's a good looking guy. He's on Bob's Burgers. He's just brain broken, and his brain has turned to mush from the community that supports Hassan.
I don't think that's appropriate. I mean, I'm more interested in talking about my relationship to Zionism and my perspective on what Israel is doing, and what is happening in Gaza. And
I totally agree. Let's just talk about the facts. Let me start by showing you this clip. So I've been actually talking about my feelings on the Israel-Gaza-Palestinian dispute situation for a long time. I lived in Israel for 5 years as well when I was with my wife early on. Here's my position right after October 7th. And you can tell me if you have any, if you have any comments on any of my positions here. But this was this was from our episode a few days after October 7th. Yeah. Liars and bad faith weirdos. So here's what I'll say about Israel, okay? Listen. Since the first time I've said it, and I'll say it many more times, the cabinet is run by genocidal maniacs, okay? They're led by Netanyahu, who should resign in disgrace and go to prison for being a war criminal, okay? He's made a coalition of the most radically conservative freaks that don't represent, by the way, the majority of Israelis. And they're hellbent on genocide, frankly, overtly.
But you said he was a good guy. I said that because he wanted to end the war. But you said. Do they just think when he shows this clip, it's like, you're just lying, though? But you're a liar. That's all it is. You're a lying Jew. Like, I'm really wondering what they think. Like, he illustrates his point so clearly, and they just love to act like he's not just giving him what he thinks.
They've committed tons of war crimes in Gaza, including the killing of children, obviously, because Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world. 50% of the residents are under 18, so when you bomb a building, the chances that you're killing children is pretty much 100%. Okay? It's fucking barbaric. It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. I've seen videos, I saw videos of Palestinian dads holding his dead, like, 5-year-old daughter. I mean,
I don't need to watch this part because it just gets a little too emotional. But I mean, so that was my take right after October 7th. And obviously that was coming off the end of me being like I'm an Israeli citizen. The morning of October 7th, me and my wife were up at 3 a.m. as families were calling into news stations from their safe houses, people being burned alive with their families being murdered while on the phone with news. So coming off of that emotional shock, right, was this was my reaction. Now, I don't know if there's something Zionist or pro-Israel I said there, but maybe I don't understand.
Modern look.
Oh.
Thick,
They're trying to stop me.
I mean, I think much of what you said was true. I'm not sure, frankly, if what we've seen Israel do in terms of Gaza is not broadly supported in Israel. I'm not seeing the body politic. I mean, I was doing a lot of interviews with Israeli reporters earlier in 2023 about the protests against what Netanyahu was doing with the judiciary. And there was a question as to whether Israelis would see.
I don't know if they've agreed to have a moderator, but even if they agreed to have a moderator, who would they have that's like an equal, unbiased middleman, third party?
That this autocracy that Netanyahu was attempting to sort of impose on the country wasn't an extension of what was happening in places like the West Bank and in Gaza in some fashion, and more so the West Bank at that time.
Yeah, if you want to send me a link, you might be able to send a link in chat, but I don't know if you want to do that. But if you want to send it to me on Instagram, you can send me a link on Instagram. It's just Cap and Quasar, spelled the same way as my channel name, all one word.
And so I think it's hard to make an argument. And look, I would make it's not a perfect analogy as to what's happening in this country, but when you talk about the Israeli population not having a problem with what's going on in Gaza, I don't see a lot of evidence of that. There's certainly.
So Sam's point is because he does not see an outspoken, vocal, like call for the government to stop what they're doing in Gaza, that means that the Israelis support what the government's doing, basically. That's kind of the conclusion that he's drawing, is it's not really like clear exactly where he's drawing it, because he's saying that Ethan's saying that the Israelis have a differing view from the Israeli government, and Sam's just saying that's not true because they don't protest enough. That's at least what I took away from it.
I would imagine a percentage of Israelis, and I know some of them who think that Israel should stop its assault there. But I don't think I don't see a lot of evidence that a year and a half later, after you've said those things, that this is not the character of the vast majority of Israeli society. I mean,
and I think that's also why it's lacking argument, because regardless of what the people think, that doesn't mean that you should kill civilians. Like, regardless of what people voted for, like, just because our country voted for Donald Trump, like America, the country of America voted for Donald Trump, does not mean that every American citizen should be a valid military target if you're thinking that they're all in like support of this thing. Because if that were the case, then Hassan is a part of the problem, and Frogan is a part of the problem, and Denims is a part of the problem, because they're all American citizens and they're all part of America, and America supports Israel. And it's just like it's just dumb. It doesn't make sense. Their voices aren't.
I'm not necessarily convinced that they are as aware. I mean, I've talked to people who have reported in the West Bank, and they said they would go from the West Bank into Israel, and lack of awareness of what was happening in the West Bank by Israelis was shocking to them. So, you know, I can't say if the Israeli population had a full understanding of what was happening in Gaza that they wouldn't change their mind. But I don't see a lot of evidence of it.
So as you touched on, this was made basically before the war started. And I think that the unfortunate, really tragic outcome of the war is how much it's jaded and radicalized, I think, people in Israel. It's really, you know, I think people in Israel feel like isolated. They feel like, I mean, the sentiment in Israel is basically that the world wants, you know, the country to disappear. And and obviously, like, that's.
If you want to send it on Discord, it's also just the same at Cap and Quasar, all one word.
A much more nuanced conversation, but the feeling there has definitely radicalized a lot since the war started. It's gotten a lot worse.
And I think I think that gets to it to some extent. I mean, you have this wholesale slaughter. You know, I was looking up. We killed in Iraq. You know, depending on what numbers you want to look at, but you know, I think it's safe to say directly hundreds of thousands of people. But even like the number of children that we killed in Iraq, I think has been surpassed by what's happened in Gaza. And I think one of the things that I find shocking is that the sense and look, I experienced this with family members, where the sense that there's a victimization, for instance, let's say on college campus of Jewish students, and I think that to look at what's going on, the totality of what's going on, and to perceive the victims of what's happening.
Thanks for stopping in, Kitten Pillar.
To be the Israeli citizenry or Jews in this country, I think it just blows my mind. I mean,
two people can care about two things at once. Why should people?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People who are uninvolved in the war, if they're being like victimized in a separate situation because of their Jewish identity, that's a problem, don't you think?
Oh, I do. But
you can care about two things. You can't be like, oh, these people are ridiculous for caring about anti-Semitism on college campuses because the war's happening. I mean, you know, both we can care about two things. 100%. And obviously, one is way worse, right? One is way worse.
But that's the point. I mean, one is way worse. And what's happening in Gaza?
Who should tolerate?
See. Sam's whole issue is, I can tell that he draws his whole issue with Israel about proportionality. He says that because Israel is disproportionately attacking Gaza and like affecting Gaza, nothing that they do back matters. Nothing that they do, it all pales in comparison and is all justified in that. And I just find that's such a broken way of thinking because, like Hassan said, it's literally the Israeli Zionistic, like, destructive perspective flipped. Does that make it good? Just because it's coming from the other direction? No, those things are still wrong. Those aims are still bad. And the means are still, like, it's just so dumb.
Being discriminated against based on their identity, you know what I mean? Like, of course, who wouldn't react to that?
I don't think that people are. I don't think that people are being victimized. I mean, certainly, listen, anti-Semitism is real. It was real when I was a kid. There was many times I had pennies thrown at me growing up and playing basketball. I mean, there was a lot of. I've experienced anti-Semitism, but I put it in the context of like you're a parent, I'm a parent. You know, if my kid is going through something very difficult, it's obviously difficult for me, but it's more difficult for them, and it's a question of prioritizing these things. You can have two thoughts in your head at the same time, but to center oneself. Or to perceive that one's victimization is sufficient to ignore the.
Exactly, and see that's where he's drawing the like wrong conclusion, because he's not saying that you can care about both of them at once. He's saying that if you care about one, you have to forget about the other one. That's literally what he just said after saying you can care about both. It's just so weird that he thinks that this argument makes any sense at all.
I gotta stop you because I don't know who's doing that.
Well, I mean, I just said, like, you just presented as the Israeli population feels like they're isolated and this and that.
There's two different separate conversations. There's like the American Jewry who's like, I have nothing to do with that place. And then the Israelis, right? So like when you're talking about.
In terms of the way that you characterize the Israeli feeling was that they feel isolated, et cetera, et cetera. And I can understand that, but to not have the first thought of like, we are committing, like you say, genocide.
Let's remember what Ethan said in his content nuke. We should keep the Palestinians' plight at the front of our mind. But like I said, your mind isn't made up of just the fucking front. You have a whole lot of brain you can use, and you can care about a lot of things, and you should care about a lot of things with nuance. Or else you are going to end up perpetuating the same kinds of violence you're trying to fight against. And it's just so ridiculous. Because let's say that all of a sudden the tides turn and Israel is destroyed and Palestine is reformed, and now it's the opposite. Are they going to say that Hamas is justified because of the previous destruction that Israel did, that they're still justified to keep destroying the Israelis? Would that be okay? Because they're acting like, oh, if you flip it, then it's okay. Like, no, it's not. It wouldn't be okay, and it's not okay that Israel's doing it either. None of it's okay. It needs to all be stopped. But if we're arguing about that, then it's all going to end up like going nowhere. If the people that want the change are the ones arguing, how the fuck is there ever going to be any like meaningful change? And you can't argue for destruction. That's like the only thing you can't argue for.
And if people want to call it genocide, I don't, obviously it's got to be, it's a legal term, but I think that it's, colloquially speaking, at the very least, it is a genocide. And
I'm glad Sam said that, because I think someone had either did a chat or was in a comment or something and said that because I wasn't saying, because my whole point was it's genocidal conditions, but to say something is a state-run genocide would take more you'd have to see what the government plans are, what the aims are, like what their like military documents say. But you can still say that they're acting under genocidal conditions, and I think that that's fair enough. And we don't need to have these like pontificate on like, oh, is it actually genocide? Is it not? You don't want to call it genocide. I think that it's destructive and disgusting and should be changed. And I think that's all that we need to agree on, like at the end of the day.
To not recognize that as the fundamental issue, the first issue, I think is blinkered. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it's a little gobsmacking to me.
Well, so I do agree with you that obviously in Israel, people, I think the problem, and just to say on a higher level, I agree with you. Like obviously the people in Israel compared to like what's on October 7th, they were victims.
Yes,
after everything that's happened, obviously whatever they've suffered
really
pales in comparison to the mass destruction and like wanton death of civilians in Gaza and what's happening in the West Bank too. Lots of awful stuff. That being said, I think the problem with Israel, just to try to explain what's happening there, because I do agree with you, is just like the media apparatus and the feeling that they have there. It's like there's not a lot of space emotionally, and like even the information that they're consuming, I think that would allow them to have that kind of like self-realization. And like you said, a lot of Israelis don't know what's happening.
There are some, I mean,
And yeah, and that's the thing too, is like there are Israelis that protest, but to assume that every Israeli understands what's going on is like assuming that every American knows what's going on overseas. Some people are invested in their small little lives, and then they become jaded by the like small things that they do see. They see like people supporting Hamas and supporting this, and they don't see the Palestinians that are literally like protesting against Hamas. And it makes those people more jaded and more against the Palestinian resistance. And yeah, I don't understand how people don't see that it's like when you act like this, you're pushing people farther into their like own destructive mindsets, and it's just going to make the militaries more aggressive. And Ethan said that at one point. He says that it was inevitable that this would happen, and it's like he's not saying that it's good. Inevitability is something that like. Sam, we'll get to it when we get there. But Sam tries to make it sound like inevitability is like
you had the publisher of Haaretz, speaking out about what was going on there, and the paper was essentially a cutout, or there was an attempt by the government to basically shut them down on to some extent. I mean, so
what's your explanation why Israelis don't care? It's not that they're evil, right?
Well, I think there's I'm sure that there is a mass sort of like a failure to deal with trauma. But I think some of it is frankly a racism. And I think how can you explain how can I explain how I just watched a clip of people at a Trump rally chanting USA USA to watching a video of people being taken into that prison in El Salvador and having their heads I mean, I don't know how I can explain that.
And this part also got to me. What do you mean you can't explain it? It's so fucking simple. Like a child could understand this. And this is like they want to obfuscate and make things seem so confusing and strange and obtuse, and like they think that that's okay and they're cheering for it because they're being like programmed by the media apparatus that those people are criminals and those people are bad. It doesn't make every single individual that is like listening a bad person. But of course, they're going to think that when that's what's being fed to them. And when you perpetuate those things and like make it seem like it's okay for those things to happen, like when the other side is going like, well, let them be criminals, let them do this, like that like obviously that's not what's happening, but I'm just saying, like, if that were to be what was happening, of course it's going to feed into it. And Ethan was saying that it's literally the media apparatus in Israel that ends up making these people more jaded and more sided with the government because they're seeing these things after October 7th and they're like, yeah, bomb them, do it.
So I don't know how I could explain how the Israelis are able to the extent that they can see what's going on in Gaza, have that reaction. But I know that it's wrong. And I think, some of it undoubtedly is a racism. Some of it is, maybe some type of mass failure to deal with trauma. I mean, I don't know all those. I think, part of it, I think there's some of the makeup of, immigrants to Israel over the past several decades. I'm sure all of that enters into it. And I'm not in a position to sort of like be able to psychoanalyze it beyond the sort of, vague notions.
Sure.
But
yeah, and I
from
agree,
my perspective, it's gobsmacking. And, to me, it has shown, and, I never identified myself as a Zionist as a kid or, through the years, and I never identified myself as an anti-Zionist. I don't think I think it wasn't really until someone heard me articulate my perspective on this that they referred to me as anti-Zionist. And I don't really care one way or another how I'm labeled. But to me, it shows
I also like that he's basically like, people had to tell me that I was an anti-Zionist, so you're just listening to a bunch of people, probably your co-hosts, that are telling you like, no, Sam, you're actually like a huge anti-Zionist, bro. You don't get it, man. You like have to, you're on our side. You're a
failure
guy.
of that system of government that Israel has. And it has failed both from a perspective of, what I think some people had as a notion of Zionism in the 19th century. It has been a failure in terms of keeping Jews safe, frankly. It seems to have been a massive failure. And so I can't operate as someone who lives in Israel, but I can operate as someone who is an American in terms of like what we support, which is why I think we should end all aid. And as a Jew who sees my religion being used as what I perceive as a fig leaf for what Israelis or, Zionists are doing. And so, that's where I'm coming from with this, that I don't know if there is a psychological state that can justify this. In fact, I don't think there is. And so,
it's just an attempt to understand, not justify. Because it is what it is, right? Like it is the way that it is, and so that's for a reason. And it's just trying to explain it. That's all. I agree with everything you're saying. But actually, one thing I want to pivot to and ask you about.
Do you think that we should cut all aid to Israel?
Still looking for a new job?
Just found out.
Yes, we should. It's bad.
That'd be justifiable, yeah.
And
we're talking about like military aid and stuff, yeah, for sure. Israel can make their own bombs.
Specifically military aid, yeah. We want to send like some medical supplies or something. I'm not going to have a problem with that. I think that should be probably one of the only things that America does, like with our policing of the world, is probably just giving aid, like, medical aid to people.
Shit.
If
they need, like, they don't need American military. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
I think they do need it to do what they're doing, without a doubt. And
well, what I mean is they're not entitled to it, to say more accurately. Yeah. So yeah, I think military aid should be cut for sure. And so,
as a Jew, and obviously you have a different connection to Israel than I do, as through your family and whatnot, and through having lived there. But as a Jew, I take such offense to what is being done ostensibly to protect me and my family and my ancestors and my progeny and all of it. I think it's I think the conflation of Zionism and Judaism is both not keeping Jews safe and is wrong at its core. And we can see what it's even doing in the context of this country, the way that it's enabled Trump to attack universities and to attack law firms and whatever. And so I don't know. And if you agree with that, great. If not, I'm happy to discuss it with you.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying. And part of the reason why like this chasm started between me and, Hassan is very influential. So when he decides that somebody is an enemy of the movement, for criticizing him, which is what I perceive happened, then it kind of becomes reality. For example, one of my criticisms of his is him not supporting Kamala Harris. Now, would she have stopped the war and been like a perfect dove? I don't know, but I know she would have been better than Trump. I know that for sure. Trump's posting like this insane Riviera, Gaza, the Riviera with Trump hotels. I mean, that's and like he's sending the 20-pound bombs. He's telling Netanyahu, you have a blank check to do whatever you want. Now, like
it just came out that Biden didn't.
Yeah, like that doesn't make any sense. Firefighting aid, medical aid, like anything that's meant to just sustain a people rather than like military aid, which is only used to destroy. You can say it's used to defend, but I mean, how much do you need to defend, really? There becomes a limit where it's unnecessary. But there is no, you can never have too much medical aid or too much like fire aid. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Did nothing to. I mean, listen. I think.
Well, talking about Kamala.
I suspect that. I suspect.
See, I think I have a stammer or a stutter or something. I'm always fumbling over my words. I don't think that it's necessarily something that they should make fun of Sam for, but I do think that it's funny that there were certain moments where it seemed to happen more. It's the same way that people shouldn't make fun of Ethan for his tics. Like, yeah, he was stammering a bit, he was stuttering, but he was also on the fly trying to come up with arguments, so debating isn't everybody's strong suit.
Expect that she would not have had the same policies as Trump. But at the same time, I think that it was a massive failure both on a real human level. Like it would have, I think, had she articulated anything even remotely close to what I would hope her difference would have been, I think it would have probably had implications in the election. But I think perhaps even more importantly, it would have maybe implicated the behavior of Israel. So, I mean, look, I chose to support Harris because I perceived her as the lesser of two evils. But
yeah, me too. And I think that that's an important distinction to make at a time like this. Yeah,
I can certainly understand how some people were.
And that makes sense in Greece too, because I mean, in those countries are in a very like divisive area in a way, and they kind of need to have a lot of ties with each other to make sure that they have peace agreements and are able to like do communications between different people, like different allies, different allied forces.
Just so repulsed by what was happening that it made it almost impossible for them to vote for Harris. I think, I
understand why they didn't. I totally understand the perspective. Like, I'm so disillusioned with this administration, I can't support.
A real XQC in chat. Nice. Do you at least speak French better than XQC? Because there's that video of him being like, his dad being like, your French is terrible.
For Kamala, but at the same time, like a hugely influential political streamer like Hassan, who has a huge influence on people, I think, and who's someone who who's very vocal about being pro-Palestine. I feel like it's an abdication of responsibility to be like, I'm not voting for Kamala, or I'm not telling you who I voted for. I suspect he voted for Jill Stein personally, but
I think honestly, this is a point Ethan probably should move away from, because it's true. What he's saying is very true, that not voting did lead to Trump getting an overwhelming, like not overwhelming majority of votes, but that he got the majority vote. So it isn't all your fault, but it's something to remember. But bringing it up over and over again, it's not clear that no, like, you know what I mean? Like nobody from Hassan's chat voted. I know Hassan wasn't like super adamant about voting, but I also don't understand how he got to like the DNC and all that with like such a loosey-goosey like viewpoint on voting.
But either way, he hasn't said, and he wouldn't endorse her. Now, like, if you're just like a random protester or whatever, and like you're like, I'm so disgusted, I don't want to vote, that's fine. But if you're like a high-level political streamer, and basically you have the capacity to weigh like the lesser of two evils and what that means, I feel like it's an abdication of responsibility to not
drink the buzzball before the stream. The debate's going to be hell on earth.
Make that call.
I mean, I certainly have been critical of people who, generally don't vote for the lesser of two evils, but I think, it certainly, in the run up to the 2016 election, I certainly, that was my perspective. But again, what the Biden administration was doing was so horrific that her inability to signal that there would be any change, I think sometimes you have to take this at face value.
I mean, it is just that thing of trying to argue against it, though. It's just say, yeah, she would have been the lesser of two evils, but I don't think it was the end all be all. Was some streamers or individuals getting their like friends and families to vote. That isn't always like there are like greater campaigns that need to happen, but there was also just issues within the Democratic Party and the fracturing, from within, and the fact that honestly. Most people just weren't going to vote for a female president. Like, there are too many people that are racist and sexist within the country. So, like, even just, like, internally without, like, knowing it, like, they're just going to be like, I don't think she's going to do as good of a job. Why? I don't know. I don't really know.
Value. And I think there would be certainly, definitely other things. You would not be assaulting the government like Trump is. But I think probably this is the first election in as long as I've been doing this, and I think it's been 5 elections now. I mean, I'm old. That I couldn't really condemn someone from taking that position based upon what we were seeing. I mean, it's
not just some random person. I do, and I'll tell you why. Kamala Harris wanted a ceasefire. She stated that. Trump said, "Finish them." I mean, let's be honest. Like for someone
Biden
like Hassan,
said, "I want a ceasefire
I'm not voting
too."
for Biden. I'm not talking
no,
about
I understand,
Biden.
but we found out that Biden, in fact, did nothing to bring that about. So,
well,
you
can talk about Biden. I'm talking about Kamala Harris. What she said.
I mean,
well, she's the vice president. I mean, at the end of the day, she doesn't really do that much, right?
No. But I'm talking about the candidate. Biden, as a president, said he wanted a ceasefire.
This is a complete side tangent, but it's for my 2 English and French speakers in chat. Would you say that it's hard because French and English are very different, like vocally? You're doing different things, like phonetically, so it's hard to like go from one to the other or between them? Because I tried to learn French in high school, and it was a little difficult.
She as a candidate said, "I want a ceasefire."
Well, do you not, even if you're like, I don't know how much I trust them. One's like, I want a ceasefire, and the other one is like, finish them.
Well, listen, I think it was certainly obvious to me that Trump was going to be worse. But I think like if you're trying to get the candidate to show some indication of this.
Well, it's just stupid because it's the idea that if you vote Kamala in, you can change her mind. Nobody's changing Trump's mind. People can put things in place that Kamala will agree with. She will, like, you know what I mean? Things will work in her favor. Like, that'll work for in the favor of the public and for progressive causes. No progress is going to be made with Trump. So who cares if it's like, she wouldn't have done that much though. It would have been a hell of a lot more than nothing. Doing a single push-up is a lot better than doing no push-ups. Going to walk for 30 minutes does a lot more for you than going to walk for no minutes. It's like, come on, guys.
I can understand. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I would disagree with it. But
I get your point. Like, ultimately, I understand why people wouldn't want to support them because of what they've seen.
Here, let me pull it back up again. Make sure I have it on screen ready to go.
And like that, it feels like it feels like
it also shows a tremendous amount of just like electoral malfeasance on her part. I mean, they made an active choice, and I think you could have put that Palestinian lawmaker from Georgia on stage. They made an active choice to signal to whomever they were signaling that they weren't going to do anything. Now, I happen to believe that she would have been better on this than Trump, but they were making an active choice to do that. I mean, it was really electoral malfeasance on her part, in my opinion. But I don't know what the point of litigating this is per se. But
well, we're talking about kind of my criticisms of Hassan and how this schisms are. Well, let me show you this.
I don't care.
Yeah,
about,
I know.
Honestly, I'm like
let me show you this. This is more.
I honestly.
Yeah, you don't care. I know.
I don't care.
And why should you? I don't blame you. We talked about anti-Semitism, and you think that I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? But you seem to have conveyed that, compared to the destruction and everything happening, the genocide, the loss of life in Gaza, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, that obviously that's way more important. So let me show you an example of something. And again, I know you don't care about the drama. To me, this isn't drama. This is one of the biggest, most influential streamers spreading something that I think is really dangerous. And you can agree or disagree, but it's a short clip. I'll show it to you, and you tell me what you think.
This will never happen, but in a totally just world, any kind of, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. And you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher as.
I mean, sorry, I was just thinking about this for a second, because for a second I thought, like, he doesn't need to care about the situation between Hassan and Ethan. I know that like Hassan wanted them to talk. That was like the thing that started it, was the converse, between them, the whole issue. But then I thought about it for a second longer. What Ethan is illustrating is an issue within the Democratic Party and the people that are supposed to espouse democratic and progressive values. And if you don't want to listen to that and you don't even care about that, and like, then what is the point of even talking? Like, at all? Yeah, and that does just seem how it does just seem like he really doesn't want the backlash that he could get. And that's just a pussy move. Pussy.
As Felix was posting, if they've ever exhibited any sort of like positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this.
Now, by the way, he didn't misspeak. He doubled down on it yesterday. He said, no, I agree. That's what I think. Now, just to recap, he says, anyone that's had positive feelings at any point about the state of Israel is a neo-Nazi that's not fit to be a dog walker. Now, to me, that seems like extremely dangerous, dehumanizing language about what could arguably be 70% of the Jewish diaspora. And certainly probably people you know in your family.
I'll tell you,
And didn't Hassan get upset because he's like, I said dog catcher, not dog walker. I said dog catcher, not dog walker. That's a mischaracterization of my point.
There's some hyperbole there, but
that's putting it mildly.
I mean, he says Zionism, and I'll tell you what I think is really.
Sorry, I got to correct you. He says Zionism, and then he says if you had positive feelings about the state of Israel at any point in your life.
I got to tell you, if you look at what's happening right now, and you have positive feelings about Israel,
He said at any point in your life, Sam. Just to be clear about what he said.
Would I have said at any point in his life, someone's life? But I just think this is such a petty, like the idea that we're going to police. Hold on, let me respond.
Ahead.
You want me to respond to this? Like I say, I don't care about this, but if you're going to force me to respond to it, what Israel is doing right now is so far beyond the idea that someone says anytime in your life.
And nothing's going to change if we cannot fucking come to an agreement on anything. That's such like a stupid point to just go, bigger things are happening around the world, so you shouldn't care about this. That's fucking dumb. We can care about so many things at once, and the one thing that we should care about is what the people on our side are saying. What the people that are around us and are supposed to be presenting our like ideologies in the correct way. And not be fucking espousing and like promoting terrorism and promoting evil stuff. It's so dumb. I guess I should put a poll up. I was really hoping they'd be on time today. I guess I'll put the poll up on when they're going to start.
Or not, or whatnot. He's talking about Zionism, and frankly, I think it's very difficult for me to understand how someone could have positive feelings at this time. Now, you want to say in the past and what? Okay.
Yeah.
Like I say, I will grant you at any time in your life that is too broad a step away. Let me finish.
Yeah.
But see, you go in and you're making this about anti-Semitism by doing this hopscotch about a poll that people had positive feelings that Jewish people do, and then therefore he is anti-Semitic. And honestly, that type of conflation, I think, is so dangerous and so disingenuous. I mean, I don't want to get too passionate about this, but I'll tell you something. I have had a guy who went to my bar mitzvah, my sister's bar mitzvah, my kid's bar mitzvah, sat at Passover with me 3 or 4 times, call my father and ask him if I'm anti-Semitic. Now, this is just that is just an example, an illustration of conflating when he's clearly talking about Zionism.
Does he not understand that it just shows perfectly that you are not understanding that you're fucking, bro. If the people in your life are coming to you going, wait, is he anti-Semitic? What's going on? You came to my bar mitzvah. Just because you had a bar mitzvah doesn't mean you can't be fucking anti-Semitic. Doesn't mean you can't be like a fucking, sorry for the term. I'm not going to be like saying that he is. But just because you had a bar mitzvah doesn't mean you can't be a self-hating Jew that thinks that everything that the Jews do is evil and be fucking terrible. Like, you can think all of those things. It's so fucking dumb. Like, I don't get that at all. He came to my bar mitzvah and he's asking my dad if I'm anti-Semitic. That's how the conflation goes. Shouldn't you be like considering that? If your mom or dad or your friend comes to you and says, my friend had to sit down with me and ask me about, your beliefs on this stuff. What do you think? And you just go, oh, I'm anti-Zionist. That's what I'm against. I don't care. It's like, well, what are you saying specifically? What are the actual like claims that you're making?
Was it hyperbole to say any time in life, whatever? The fact of the matter is this conflation is dangerous for Jews. It is a fig leaf and a way of weaponizing anti-Semitism that has enabled Donald Trump to do the shit he's doing, that has enabled the slaughter of thousands upon thousands of children and women and men, for that matter. It is not keeping Israelis safe. And this type of conflation, Ethan, is what I find far more irresponsible, frankly, than the idea that he said positive any time. I mean, look, you do a show
Sam,
4 hours a day. He does a show 5 or, as far as I can tell, 15 hours a day. And to focus in on that one tiny clause.
This is not one tiny clip, Sam. But you don't know. This is a totality of behavior.
But you
and by the way,
it's
easy. And I appreciate that you can hand wave it away and say that it doesn't.
No, I'm not hand waving it away.
Well, you kind of are.
I'm saying this conflation.
You're saying actually I'm wrong for caring about it.
No, yes. In fact, I'm saying this conflation is incredibly dangerous. It is disingenuous.
I think it's dangerous
right now,
to ignore what's being described as dehumanizing violent language for American Jews that have nothing to do with the word.
That is a complete mischaracterization of that.
It's not. He's not fit to be a dog walker.
He never says the.
No, I don't think that. Here's the thing. I don't think he's anti-Semitic. But if you are propagating anti-Semitic like beliefs, that's something that you should have to contend with, and something that you should have to talk about and discuss with the people around you. It's not just something that your fucking enemies should be pointing at you. It's something that people around you should be able to talk about and be able to like either come to a conclusion that you're not, or help reform some of your own ideas. Because nobody's perfect. Some of us, everybody has bigotry in their heart. It's, it goes untapped. You don't even notice it. And it's about understanding it when it gets called out and then changing those things. Like, yeah.
The word Jews.
He says a neo.
Listen, how many members of Kufi have positive feelings towards Israel? How many millions of members of Kufi, the Christian organization, have positive feelings for Jews? It is clearly not a function of their Judaism. It is not a function of their Judaism, and so it is not
describes most Jews.
No.
Yes, it does, Sam.
It describes most Christian evangelicals too.
It may do them too, but it also describes 73% of Jews.
That is not anti-Semitism.
Well, I don't know. What do you call it when somebody's discriminating against the vast majority of a racial or religious group, Sam?
I'm sorry. You want to look at evangelical Jews?
I don't care about evangelical people.
Okay, but I'm talking about the way you're constructing this.
I think
you can say the same thing about Christian evangelicals too. It is not anti-Semitism. It is not. It just isn't.
Like, taking one example in isolation, which is what we've done here.
And that's why I think bringing up the anti-Semitism argument will always be broken down, because they're going to go, well, more people are Zionists than Jews. Talking about the xenophobia that gets brought about from people being anti-Zionist and conflating all Zionists with all of Israel, saying that all of Israel should be destroyed and all of the Israelis should be, moved out of their country or, killed or whatever. It's so weird. It's like, do you not see the conflation? Because you're saying we're conflating things, but like, come on.
No, you're the one who gave it to me.
Yeah, well, I disagree
but I'm using your example, and in that instance, that is not anti-Semitism.
Well, I disagree.
Conflation. Okay, well, that's our disagreement.
Yeah.
But I think that conflation is incredibly dangerous.
Well, I disagree as well.
For Jews, I think it's dangerous for this society.
I think, frankly, I think it's dangerous to what I perceive as hand waving what's happening here. I know you said you aren't doing that.
I'm not hand waving.
You're doing the opposite. You're endorsing.
See, Ethan's being more overt with his statements when it would be considered a dog whistle saying Zionist, because you can have problems with Zionists and Zionism or whatever, but it's the conflation that they make as a dog, like to dog whistle that, Zionism equals Israelis and Israelis equals Jews. It does go down like a couple ways, I think.
Decades of thought about this.
So right, sure, but the point is, you're saying that this is not dangerous. How dare you care about this? I think it's dangerous
I'm not saying that at all.
I personally, Jewish people have a collective memory of trauma, Sam, and it starts a certain way, and it starts with people. It starts with dehumanizing language, like saying you're not fit to walk a dog. I mean, what are we doing here? It's irresponsible language.
He's not talking about.
He's talking about 73% of Jewish people.
No, you said that.
No, that's a poll that's readily available.
No, you made that connection. He did not. Because we have millions upon millions of members of Kufi. We have millions upon millions in this country of evangelicals who also believe the same thing.
Does your dad have?
You cannot say it's anti-Semitism.
Could you describe?
You cannot say it's anti-Semitism if you're also including millions upon millions, far more Christians than Jews.
Would you say that your father, who you mentioned, said something to you, that he's ever in his life had positive feelings about the state of Israel?
I've had positive feelings of Israel.
Well, does your dad have any positive feelings about it now? Not in terms of I support them, but
I've had positive feelings. I went to Israel on.
Okay, good. Then you're a neo-Nazi, not fit to walk a dog. How do you feel about that?
No, that's you saying that.
That's literally what he said. I'll play it again.
No.
I think this will never happen, but in a totally just world, any kind of, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. And
how do they post on Instagram 8 minutes ago? Live, it's happening. Come on, guys. What are we doing? What is going on?
you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher as Felix was posting if they've ever exhibited any sort of like positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this.
Another thing, he's
down with the Dutch. Okay, if that's what you think.
Doing, by the way, and Hassan is
listen,
he plays around with the term Zionist, right?
You can say that's the wrong thing to say, but he's not talking about Jews. He's talking about people who have exhibited.
See, you can't go into the weekend stress though, because it's getting out of the way before the weekend, so you can finally go and get some like catharsis and just chill out.
These positive feelings, and that includes millions upon millions of Christians. More Christians.
Okay, well, listen, I don't think they're neo-Nazis, not fit to walk dogs, either. I think it's insane language.
Listen, you don't want to tell me that you have never engaged in hyperbole. You and I both are in this business, and we do that.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I just think that,
It's, listen, you can say it's an inappropriate thing to say. It's an unfair thing to say.
I just think like Arabs that support Israel aren't fit to walk a dog.
It is not anti-Semitism.
Okay, well, we're at an impasse on this one.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean... But anyway, another thing he does is he says Zionist tendencies, and he's someone that plays around with Zionism. He calls me a Zionist, and again, I know we're arguing here about semantics of what Hassan said, but I don't think that you could accurately characterize me as that, as it's used colloquially. You don't know, right? But he's saying Zionist tendencies. What does that mean?
Welcome to Take 5 Oil Change. Going on vacation?
Oh yeah, road trip.
What's a Zionist tendency?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to talk to him on Friday. You can ask.
I feel like they're going to turn off chat for the debate. What do you guys think?
Ask him what a Zionist tendency is. I
Sure.
suppose I would guess, and like I've looked at polls too, where people have various different understandings of what Zionism is. But I think it is my guess, and
I mean, we're praying for goofs and gaffes, but we have to remember, guys, it's already May. They go on break in June. We're running out of time.
don't know what he was thinking specifically, but the notion of an ethno-state that engages and allows whatever
I hope Gabe and his father are
of
doing great
Zionism
today.
allows for this mass slaughter, I think is horrific.
Sure, me too.
Okay. I mean, then I think we the three of us agree on that regard.
Yeah, I think we're so another thing is like to take it even further. I mean, Hassan pretty much like openly
Well, let's not
supports
talk
Hamas.
about Hassan. Let's talk about this.
Sure. I mean, what do you want to ask me?
Well, I mean, if you want to ask me about, I mean,
well, let me.
I'm not here to explore.
Yeah. I have a list of things.
Feelings, but if you want to talk about Hamas, I mean, I think look.
Well, how do you feel about Hamas?
I feel that Hamas, people can perceive it as a liberation.
Why do these fucking people, why can't they ever just be like, I think Hamas is bad, but I also think Hamas has been, propped up by the Israeli government as the only kind of, military force that can exist within Palestine. And then they can bring up all the other things of all the, times before when there was attempts at peaceful governance. That's fine if that's what you want to bring up, but just fucking say it's bad. Just say that it's bad to start. Go, they are bad, they do terrorism, but it has been, like in the same way that after October 7th, it was inevitable that there were going to be bombs, fucking like carpet bombed the fucking like city, like the towns and shit, the fucking whole streets. Like, this is what we talk about when it's inevitability. This is inevitable. It's what happens.
Organization. We call them terrorists in this country. We call the ANC terrorists. What do you think about them,
Sam?
Like, it's fine to think that that's inevitable. It was inevitable for Hamas to be propped up eventually. That was inevitable, but that doesn't mean it's okay. In the same way that it was inevitable after October 7th that crazy shit was going to happen, that doesn't make it okay. They all lack any level of nuance. It's so insane. And they try and hide by saying that they have nuance because they go and a bunch.
I think there are parts, I would imagine, of Hamas that have done good for the people in Gaza, and I think they have done bad things. But I sort of feel, I guess, ultimately probably like Ehud Barak when he said that were I Palestinian and I was living in Gaza, that it would be likely that I would join Hamas. I mean, that's what Ehud Barak said on multiple occasions. And I think that is very, that is an understanding of human nature.
That you're not affording Israelis, by the way, just to point out an inconsistency there.
How so?
Well, you're like, I refuse to understand human nature and their reaction. It's just evil, and I don't know how to explain it.
I didn't use the word evil.
Right. I'm inferring, because I asked you if you think they're evil.
It's the same disconnect as people saying that when Hassan said that America deserved 9/11. No, 9/11 was an inevitable event that was going to happen because of America's claims in the Middle East and all the shit that we've done for a long time. And so it's just And that's the thing is they want to act like the difference is, oh, you said it's inevitable. They think inevitable means good. They think that like, oh, an inevitability is something that's good, something that's supposed to happen, not just something that will happen. It's so crazy.
Didn't really answer that.
Listen, I don't know what Gazans felt on October 8th, but toward Hamas. But I can tell you that there is a long history of terrorist organizations or so-called terrorist organizations like the ANC or the IRA, even the PLO,
now, Sam,
that ultimately become a political organization.
I think the comparison to Hamas to what happened in South Africa is insanely disingenuous, and I personally hate when people do that.
I mean, Mandela didn't think so.
Well, Mandela did.
So we saw earlier, Ethan actually didn't know that much about apartheid South Africa, and it seems like he must have done his research after that debate, after that conversation with Hassan. Because it is funny how he kind of cooks Sam here.
I think so. He explicitly stated that he avoided committing violence on the citizenry because it would make reunification impossible. That's something he said.
I think you could say that.
If we start within the next 15 minutes, we'll probably get to see Gabe. But it's like the debate's supposed to be at 12:30. What the hell?
Tactically speaking, listen.
By the way, Sam, in the totality of their campaign, I think under 200 civilians died, and the people who did kill civilians were almost all held accountable for what they did. That's a difference, Sam.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that
a significant difference.
Well, it is a significant difference. I mean, I imagine many of those people who committed atrocities on October 7th are dead now. And so
what does that have to do with anything?
Well, that's accountability.
But I mean, being held accountable by the party that they're presumably doing the violence on behalf. Like,
you're saying the entire ANC was held accountable?
No, I'm saying Nelson Mandela's party. If someone killed a civilian, they would hold them accountable. They would charge them.
You're right. Exactly. Thanos was inevitable. Doesn't mean he was a good guy. Just saying.
They would disavow their actions.
I think my point's been made.
Yes.
Well, the IRA was bombing places in England and throughout Ireland. I mean, we have even
the way he jumps off the point too, because he throws out so many things. The ANC and the IRAs in Ireland, and to just be like, oh, okay, that one didn't work. Then what about the IRA? What about them then, huh? You know more facts about that? Like, what's the point? What's the point, man?
The Irgun or the Stern Gang, when they killed, over 100 villagers in 1948. I mean, the history is full of examples of organizations that commit terrorist acts. Now, I will tell you,
people look at South Africa.
I do not condone the killing of civilians, which is why obviously
we're going live. It is. It said it was going. Oh, did it not start? I swear it just flashed for me. Ethan said going live 48 seconds ago. Are we going? What's going on? Is it happening? Come on. What did I do? It's crashing. Notify me. How many people are in? 22.9K. Nice. Oh, Asman has 55K people on his live stream waiting to watch it. Oh my god. What's fucking up with Asman? That's insane. Come on, go live. Bros, he's blue balling us.
I'm upset about what Israel is doing.
Sure.
I'll just do this.
The part that I don't like about people say, I feel like people sweep for Hamas by saying, like, what do you expect, right? But the truth is that people use South Africa as an example. But what South Africa shows is that you don't need to commit a violent war against civilians to liberate yourself.
Well, I mean, listen, we had for a year, we had the Great March of Return, where, Sinwar himself was involved in that. There was Palestinians marching on a regular basis over the course of the year. I don't know how many it was, 50 or whatever, that were innocent people who went there, and snipers are shooting down unarmed civilians. And so, time and time again, and over the course of the 20 years that I've been professionally, covering this, my attitude towards Israel's willingness to have peace has changed, and my understanding of it has changed. And I can only imagine how more intense that feeling is to be living in a place that is, functionally like, the Warsaw Ghetto, insofar as like you don't have access to resources, you have 50% unemployment, the apartheid that is taking place in terms of the West Bank. I mean,
I agree with those characterizations, by the way, Sam. Just to say.
I would, okay, but I can't imagine that my response wouldn't be to pick up a weapon.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
I didn't know that many people watched Asman because I don't understand how people could watch Asman. I do not find his content very entertaining. He's not very intelligent. He sounds funny. He looks funny. There we go. They really played it. Oh my god. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I will be back tomorrow, actually, to do a review of this debate. So I will see you guys then. Thank you so much. It has been fun. This is Captain Quasar signing off. Whoa. Let's go. Pin it.